Perfect. So I think we'll make a start and then I'm sure people will join us as and when they can. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. My name is Pippa Fry and I'm the Rural Communities Engagement Manager here at the Royal Countryside Fund. So just to start off with a bit of housekeeping, so just want to check everyone's on the right webinar. So this webinar at 6 p.m. Is for rural community organisations that are interested in applying it in Cumbria. We do have another webinar if you're based in Northumberland and you are interested in applying to the Northumberland programme, and that starts at 7 p.m. and the link for that is on our website. Just to let you know that we are recording this webinar and we will post it on the website following the event. So if you do need to leave early for any reason, you can view it later at a later date on the website. So in terms of questions, thank you very much to those of you that submitted questions beforehand using the sign up form. There will also be an opportunity for you to ask questions using the Q&A function on this webinar. So we have disabled the chat function, but you can submit questions using the Q&A, which should be at the bottom of your screen. And then we will answer these questions at the end of the presentation. Right, so just to get started. So we're very grateful to the National Lottery Community Fund for supporting us with this programme to support rural communities in Cumbria. So I'm just going to do a brief rundown of the programme and more information about how to apply, an overview of the programme itself, some of the example projects we've supported previously, what you can expect from us as a funder, and what we also expect from you if you are successful in being awarded funding. I'll also go through some guidance on how to complete the video application part of your submission and the expression of interest as well. So in terms of how to apply for funding, the most important thing, obviously, to start off with is to make sure that you read the guidance. And I think this is really critical to make sure that your project and your activities align with the programme objectives. Once you've read the guidance and you're still not sure, by all means, please do get in contact with us and we'll be happy to talk through any queries that you have. But please do make sure that you read that guidance first, especially sort of the eligibility criteria. So the next stage is to complete an expression of interest form on our website. So the link to that is up on our website page. You can click apply now, and that will take you straight to the expression of interest form. And within that as well, we ask you to complete a short video, which is going to highlight why your idea is needed in the area, how it will help the community, why it's innovative, and what the long-term ambition is. So this is a bit of a different approach for us in terms of our application process. We are really trying to streamline our application process and make it easier for people to apply. So by implementing this, it's a short expression of interest form. We're just trying to capture some key information and a little bit more about your project, and the video submission. We really want to hear your story and what it is you're trying to achieve. If you're then successful in your expression of interest, we will invite you to submit a full proposal to us. And in that full proposal, we will just be asking for more detail about your project, including sort of how many people it will impact on, what actions and outcomes you'll be looking to deliver and achieve, a delivery plan, and a bit of an evidence of need as well from your target community. So that's something that is really important to start thinking about now, which I'll cover off in more detail later on, is evidence of need from the community that you'll be supporting. So that might be in the form of surveys, it might be through sort of testimonials from your community members. So although this isn't required at the expression of interest stage, it's something that would be really beneficial for you to be thinking about if you are invited to submit that full proposal. How will you demonstrate that the need and the demand for this project is coming from the community itself? We will also ask for any evidence of relevant permissions or agreements, if applicable, at the full proposal stage, for example, a rental agreement for where you're carrying out any capital work. We'd also ask for a bank statement dated in the last 3 months to check your account details, confirmation that you have at least 2 board or committee members that are not related, a copy of your latest annual report and accounts, and a copy of your safeguarding policy as well. So just something to bear in mind, that if you are successful in getting forward to the next stage, those are the types of information we'll be looking for. And then following submission of the final proposal, we will then hold a panel to make the final decision. And we will invite shortlisted projects to do a short presentation on your project to our panel in person, ideally. And our panel will then make a final decision and we'll be in touch to let you know if we're going to fund your proposal or not. And really, that's just because we want to meet you face to face. It gives you the opportunity to ask any questions you may have as well. And we really want to get to know the projects that we could potentially be funding. So a bit of an overview of the programme. So really, we want to support work that falls under two key themes. So those themes are powering up rural communities and environmental sustainability. And what we're really looking for is projects that help to do one or more of the following four things. So we really want to help provide financial benefits to the locality, build a stronger sense of community and connectedness. We want projects that will benefit the local environment, create positive benefits for the community, and that really sort of create an innovative and replicable approach addressing an unmet need within a rural area. So we want communities to bid for money that's going to create real tangible change within their communities. So to give you a bit of an example, under the Powering Up Rural Communities theme, it might be a project that would generate a new income stream for the local community, or it might help to create learning or skills opportunities. In terms of environmental sustainability, this is really focusing on community environmental sustainability as opposed to kind of nature-based landscape scale solutions. We're really looking for ideas that have environmental benefits. So it might be a project which reduces negative environmental impacts in the community or helps to increase community awareness and engagement in the local environment. But the key thing that we're really looking for through this programme is innovative solutions to the challenges facing rural areas. So have you got an idea for a project that hasn't been done before, but that could be replicated in other rural communities that would really help to kind of increase the scale of change in rural areas? So how much? So you can apply for as much as you need to complete your project, up to a maximum of £30,000 to be spent over a period of 18 months. And it's worth emphasising that 18 months is a very firm 18-month maximum deadline. So we wouldn't be able to extend projects beyond that period of time. So in terms of what we can fund direct costs to deliver activities in the community. So for example, this could be staffing costs, materials, equipment, room hire. It might be volunteer expenses or evaluations. We can also fund organisational development. So this is to enable organisations to deliver the programme outcomes. So it might be things like business planning, it might be testing a new way of working, staff training or development. It might be that you want to develop governance and leadership, tech or IT purchases, developing and sharing your impact and learning, or increasing your capacity to support collaboration and partnership working. We can also fund core or fixed costs to support the day-to-day running of organisations. So this might be core salaries, utilities, equipment. And it's worth noting, if you are looking to purchase a vehicle, we will ask you to look into the best option for your activity and the planet, but you will only have to do this if we want to take your proposal further. And if any part of the funding is going to be used to buy goods or services or buy or develop intellectual property over £10,000, you will need to carry out a competitive tender for these goods or services and comply with UK and EU procurement rules if that's applicable. So in terms of who can apply, so this funding is available to rural community organisations. So we're really looking to support community-led organisations, not-for-profit, rather than individuals or private businesses. So you can apply if your organisation has an annual income of less than £500,000 a year and is one of the types of organisations listed there. If you're an unincorporated group, it might be worth you just having a look at whether at the different options, if it's appropriate for you to become a company or other type of incorporated organisation. And we suggest that you look into this and think about how it might work for you if you're not sure. And key to note as well that if you do apply, you will need at least 2 board or committee members that are not related. So in terms of rurality, I noted this was a question that came up on the pre-submitted questions for this webinar. So our support is going to be focused on isolated rural areas with populations usually less than 4,000, where the activity is required due to a lack of alternative services in that locality. So that's not a hard and fast rule with the 4,000. We will assess on a case-by-case basis, but generally we will be looking for populations that are less than that, where it's applications from smaller villages or towns or rurally dispersed areas, and they would be prioritised over applications from sort of larger towns who may be better served. But we do appreciate, obviously, that some larger towns may still be underserved and distant from sort of urban hubs. So we will assess on a case-by-case basis on that note. So in terms of organisations that we are unable to fund, I won't go through the full list, but just to note, I noticed we had a couple of questions regarding councils. So we are not able to fund local authorities, and that includes town and parish councils. Equally, we are unable to fund hospitals and schools or youth clubs or uniformed groups such as Scouts, Guides and Sea Cadets. So in terms of activities which we aren't able to support, there's obviously a really long list there. This is all available on our website in the guidance document. There's a full list of what we unfortunately aren't able to support through this funding programme. I'll just pick out a couple of key things which I think are really important to note, which is that we aren't able to support activities which involve capital work to buy or build, refurbish, extend or alter a property, so construction related work. So those kind of capital construction related projects, unfortunately, we're not able to fund through this particular programme. There are another number of other funds which do support that type of activity. And we would suggest that it might be worthwhile having a look at one of those if that's something that you're interested in. We also aren't able to fund village hall and community asset renovation activities through this programme. So we really want to make sure that the funding available is in line with what's equally available nationally. And there is the Platinum Jubilee Village Halls Fund, which is currently open for applications. So we would suggest that if you are looking at doing a kind of village hall renovation type activity, it might be worth you having a look at that and just seeing if that's more suited to what you're looking to do. Also worth noting that any activities that you apply for, our contribution has to make up at least 10% of the total cost of the project. So that's something to bear in mind. In terms of religion, we are able to fund projects that are based, for example, in churches and places like that, as long as they aren't promoting a religion and that they're open to the community as a whole. So what might success look like? So this is kind of a summary of the types of outcomes that we're looking to achieve through this programme. So we really want to help provide financial benefits to the local area. So this might be, for example, generation of a new or support to build an existing income stream for your community. It might be helping to secure their long-term viability and reduce reliance on external funding. It might be that you're looking to create a bit of a circular economy within your community. So maybe you're producing projects which can be circulated within the local economy that are focused on local production for local use, and which would help to retain more of the value and economic activity locally. It might be that it's a skills-based project where you're building skills within the local community, helping to encourage growth, which might mean that local employment opportunities are created or training opportunities are developed. It could be that you're looking to share skills and resources with other organisations, and local partnerships are then developed, which again helps to kind of drive that economic growth and bring those financial benefits. Or it might be that you're providing kind of an essential resource for the community that's currently inaccessible, helping to improve their economic resilience. So the second outcome that we're really looking to achieve is building a stronger sense of community and connectedness. So there's a number of different things that might fall under this. So it might be that you're developing community leadership and planning approaches. It might be that your project is going to help bring the community together, so increasing community cohesion, reducing isolation and loneliness. It might be that your project helps the community develop a long-term plan for their future and sustain change beyond the lifetime of the funding. So that's something that we're really looking for. What is this going to allow you to achieve long term? And there's a really nice example of a project we've supported previously, actually, that falls under that kind of community planning and in community engagement aspect, which I'll touch on in a minute. So benefit the local environment, creating positive benefits for the community. So it might be solutions which reduce negative impacts on the local environment. It might be that it means there's increased knowledge and interest from the community in the environment. It might be the waste is reduced, resource efficiency initiatives are developed. And as I said earlier, we're not accepting applications for nature recovery or landscape scale regeneration type projects. This is really focused on the community level environmental sustainability. And then the final outcome we're really looking to achieve is creating an innovative and replicable approach, addressing an unmet need within rural areas. So it might be that there's unmet needs or gaps in provision, or there's kind of existing or emerging issues or priorities within the community that you want to address through innovative solutions. And it might be as well that solutions are shared with other local communities. And this is something that we're really keen to see. Once you've developed your project and you've implemented it, how could this be replicated more widely? Are there other local communities that could benefit from this that you might be able to share that knowledge with, helping to kind of expand that scale of change in rural communities? So when we were developing this programme, we went back through our portfolio of projects that we've supported since we were established in 2010. And one of the key things that really came across for us was these sort of key characteristics that we saw time and again in some of our more successful projects, the ones that have been really innovative. And we had a look at them and we thought, what is it about those projects that has made them so successful? And these are the 4 key characteristics that we've come up with. So this is kind of an outline of the characteristics we would like our organisations to demonstrate. That's not to say that every organisation has to demonstrate all 4 of these characteristics. You can demonstrate one, that's absolutely fine, but it'd be really interesting to hear how you feel you kind of demonstrate these in the work that you do. So the first one, and arguably the most important, is that organisations are community-led, and this is something that we will be assessing really heavily. Is the demand and need from the project coming from the community? Are you going to be able to evidence that that is the case and that it's the community that want this project? And has it been developed in response to what people have told you they need and what's important to them? We want to see that organisations are actively engaging with the members of their community and adapting their offering in response to those needs and those changing needs within their community. The second is working towards a long-term vision. So what we mean by this is we really want organisations to be sustainable in the long term. So we want this funding to enable them to go on and achieve other things further down the line. So it'd be really nice to see that organisations have kind of a long-term vision or a goal and how they're working towards this. So it might be that you did a business plan and you outlined your kind of plan for the next 5 years. We'd really love to hear about that. Or have you done a community consultation as a result of that? You thought, right, we're going to implement X, Y, and Z, and this project forms part of that. What would this project allow you to do longer term? Is it kind of, ideally we don't want this funding to be, just the length of the project and then that's it. We want to see what it's going to allow you to achieve in the future. Will it lead to further opportunities for you or your beneficiaries? So will it help to generate an income? And then that means that you can further invest in the community. The third characteristic is facilitating collaboration and connectedness. So we really want to support organisations that are inclusive, accessible and collaborative. So we really want to understand how you work with other community groups and organisations. So have you sort of shared resources or learning and ideas? Are there other local community organisations that you have worked with? So it's an opportunity really to demonstrate how you're connected with others. So it might be other community organisations, it might be local businesses. We just want to see how you're kind of engaging. It might simply be in your local area, it might be further afield. And it also kind of the relationships that you have with external partners, stakeholders and funders. And then the fourth and final characteristic is demonstrating innovation. So we really want to support activities that are creating really innovative and replicable solutions to the challenges facing rural communities. So you might want to think about what makes your activity innovative. Is this something that's bespoke to your community that you kind of developed to a particular challenge that you've identified? Is it addressing kind of an unmet need or gap in provision within your local community? And does it have the potential for scale? Could this then go on to be replicated and shared elsewhere? So in terms of some of the previous projects we've supported, so one which is actually based in Cumbria is Grisdale Arts and the Farmers Arms. So Grisdale Arts, in collaboration with the local community, turned an old pub into a rural hub. So they've created a space for really innovative and creative projects to run, and they host training events and volunteer placements for local people, and they're offering a wide range of activities and services. So what we really liked about this was they went beyond kind of purchasing the pub for the community and running it simply as a pub. Actually, they turned it into a rural hub with a really wide range of offerings to suit a whole host of people within the local community. And they really demonstrated their impact through really strong, so they had both quantitative, so statistical data, and also qualitative evidence of the impact on local people, so testimonials and case studies. And they are providing a really vital range of services for local people. And it's all, Grisdale Arts as an organisation also collaborates with a number of other organisations in the local area. And this is something that was really fantastic to see. Blackpool Mill Community Association, based in Tyne and Wear. So this organisation is a really interesting one. So they set up the Derwent Valley Car Club, which is an electric vehicle car club in their community. So people in the community can hire the electric vehicles for a low charge, and that can enable them to get to appointments, to interviews, to do their shopping, whatever it is they need to do. But alongside that, they also run a volunteer driver scheme, which is further increasing access to transport. So that in itself is very impressive and absolutely brilliant. But what was really innovative about this project in particular was that they applied to us for funding to create a bit of a how-to guide. They called it a car club in a box, so that other rural communities could then replicate what they had done themselves. And this is what really appealed to us about the project, was that it had the ability to be shared with others and to really increase that scale of change. So not only would it mean that in their own community, they're able to improve their access to transport, it would generate an income stream for them. They would be able to sell the model to other communities for them to be able to replicate. So it ensured the long-term viability of their own club, but it also helped to reduce isolation and loneliness and decarbonise transport on a much larger scale through replicating that in other rural communities. So that was something that was a bit different. So it was a community transport project, but actually going a step further and kind of doing something which was really innovative. So this is the other project which I touched on earlier about the community planning approach, so Holy Island 2050. So this was a really interesting project actually, and it sought to kind of address the really significant issues that the island was facing by bringing together local people to develop a bit of a strategy for the future of the island and the long-term vision for the area. So the key thing about this was it was led by and for local people. And they set out a plan for creating a really sustainable and positive future where the community and island could thrive. So what it involved was they set up a working group. They had different meetings for the community so that the community could get to know each other. And that really helped to create the building blocks for that active governance and really strengthen the community provision. And it really provided a clear agenda for the island so that they could decide on what the priority projects were to implement and action. And this really helped to secure their long-term sustainability. So interesting, really interesting project in that it brought the community together. And it kind of sparked those discussions. And actually, since they received that funding and they were able to create this long-term strategy, they've actually then been able to go on and look at putting in applications for community housing and for other projects. So it's a bit of a springboard. So when we talk about projects having a long-term vision, this is a great example of that. So this strategy document that they produced was a springboard that's then allowed them to go on and achieve a number of other different things. So another example is Transition North Ronaldsay. So this was a project up in North Ronaldsay, and basically they created a new community enterprise which was turning their island's plastic waste into usable products that benefit the community. So things like fence posts, was also things like coasters and things they could sell in their community shop. And crucially, the products which they made were developed with the community and were traded in for the remanufacturing. So it created a really innovative circular economy on the island and also had the benefit of reducing litter from the coastline. So this is a really nice example of a project which fits under that environmental sustainability theme. So what we liked about it is really a particularly innovative project. They also had a really strong business plan as well and a clear long-term vision for how they were going to develop the project in the future. And as well as the obvious environmental benefits, it also they also demonstrated really additional economic and social benefits as well, such as supporting employment and protecting the biosecurity on the island. And then just a final one, Colin and Glenda Rural Development Trust. So again, a really innovative project. So this project really aimed to provide services to a rural underserviced population. So they wanted to create what they were calling a sustainable local food ecosystem. But the heart of this project was a vending machine market. And this is basically a vending machine where local producers and makers were able to sell their produce to those in the community. And they also held regular farmers markets and grew produce by the community for use in the community food programme. So it's quite a wide-ranging project, really, which had a number of additional benefits. And what we liked about it was they clearly identified kind of an unmet need within the community that they wanted to address, and came up with this really innovative solution of the vending machine market and the farmers markets. And again, this is a project which is really replicable and could be rolled out to other rural communities facing similar challenges. So in terms of what we expect from you, if you're successful with the funding, we will host an initial kickoff meeting with our team. And this is basically a chance to speak face-to-face, to talk through the next steps and kind of finalise details for your project delivery, key dates that you need to be aware of. And it's just a really nice opportunity, I think, to put a face to the name, establish that relationship, and know that we're there as your point of contact should you have any questions, and just to kind of make sure we're both clear on the plan for the project and how that will work. It would also be great if you were able to host some of our team for a visit. So we love seeing our projects in person. It really brings them to life. I think it's always fantastic to meet projects and to meet the beneficiaries. And it's all about people at the end of the day. And we want to meet the people that are being impacted by the projects and that are really going to benefit from the funding. And for us, that's a really key part of understanding our impact as well, is seeing people face to face and understanding projects in 3D rather than sort of 2D on an application form. We want to meet you. We want to understand more about the fantastic work that you're doing. So in terms of our monitoring and evaluation, we will also ask you to submit a report halfway through the project. So in this, we'll just ask you to outline your spend, the impact. So that will be the evaluation element. What have you been able to achieve so far? We also want to know any issues, challenges, or risks that you've identified. We're really key to capture the learning as part of this project. So we appreciate sometimes you have an initial plan for how things are going to go, and actually that can change, and we want to be involved in those discussions. We want to know what's worked well, what hasn't worked well. Any partnerships you've been involved in, have you collaborated with any other organisations? And really important as well that you keep us up to date, abreast of anything. If anything changes with your project, just letting us know well in advance of any changes that might happen. We will then ask you to submit an end of project report, and it will be very similar to the interim, but slightly more detailed, particularly in terms of that sort of evaluation element. We'd also ask that you participate in marketing the award and attend any events, stakeholder meetings, or open days which might be relevant and accessible for you. So in terms of what you can expect for us, so we really pride ourselves on open communication and support from our team. So we want to be there. If you have any queries or questions for us, we are more than happy to help you with those. We'll also, alongside the comms team, we will help you promote your project and use the funding more widely. We also have something called our Confident Rural Communities Network, which is a network of our current and previous grant beneficiaries that we've supported since our inception in 2010. And the idea behind this network is to bring together the organisations, the knowledge exchange and learning. There's such a breadth of experience amongst the organisations that we've supported, and by the very nature of what these organisations do, quite often they're working in silos. They're often volunteers with limited time, and actually we find there's real value in bringing together these different organisations. And it might be that they're working on completely different things, but actually there's quite often a lot of shared knowledge and experience and transferable knowledge as well, which we find is really beneficial. So that's something we're developing, and if you are successful, you would have the opportunity to join that network and to meet some of the organisations within that. And we also really relish the opportunity to meet our beneficiaries face to face. So we'd like to invite you to events and meetings and sort of activities that we're doing within your area. So as I touched on earlier, in terms of the application process for this initial expression of interest stage, there's the expression of interest form on our website, and we're also asking applicants to complete a really short video submission. And as I said previously, the idea behind this video submission is really about hearing your story. So who you are, what your organisation does, what the project is you'd like us to support. So it'd be great to hear more about where you're based, what are the main activities and objectives of your organisation, and what you'd like to do, what the project is that you're applying for funding for. So we're really not expecting professional level videos or professional editing on these. It can be filmed on your phone or a tablet. You can simply hold it up and film yourself. You could get someone else to film you. The quality of the video won't be taken into consideration. I think it's really important that we emphasize that. So we're not looking for professional videos at all. We just want to see you. We want to hear you talk about your project. We want to put a face to the name, really. So in terms of length, the video needs to be between 1 and 3 minutes long. We would ask that you try and keep to that time limit as well. We're not looking for kind of film style videos. We really just want a short, concise summary of what it is that you want to do and a bit about you. So you have some options for sending this to us. So you can upload it to a hosting website. So that might be YouTube, Dropbox, Google Drive. And then you can then copy and paste the URL for that link into the expression of interest form on our website. Alternatively, if it's easier for you, you can WhatsApp it to us. Really key though, if you are going to WhatsApp, please make sure that you send your name, your organisation name and your email address with the video so that we know who the video has come from. And also, at the time of messaging, what would be really useful is if you could let me know whether you've submitted your expression of interest form already as well alongside the video, or if you've still got to do that, just so I know to match the two up and to look out for those. So videos can be portrait or landscape. And consent-wise, if you're going to take videos of people taking part in your project, please just make sure you get their consent first. And there's more information about this on the Information Commissioner's office. So in terms of the expression of interest form, we've tried to make this as simple as possible. It's worth noting applications close on Thursday, the 12th of September at midday. So worth having a look at, I would say, before you contact us, if you do have any queries, obviously read the guidance first, and also worth having a look at the expression of interest form and having a read through that. And then if you're still unsure of anything, please do get in contact with us and we'll be happy to help, but definitely worth having a look at those two things first. We would also really recommend drafting your responses offline first, just in case. Technology is wonderful, but it can let us down at times. And just to make sure that you don't lose any of your hard work, we would recommend kind of drafting your responses to the answers, maybe in a Word document, and then copying and pasting into the expression of interest form just in case. So you can start your form and save it and then go back to it at a later date. And there's just some instructions here, but also in the guidance document on how to do that. So you can save progress and resume later, enter an email address and a password, and then go to resume your form as well. So hopefully very self-explanatory on that front. So in terms of the expression of interest form itself, when you click on it, you'll go straight to an eligibility quiz. So this is just a case of ticking, yes, 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 we meet this criteria. Just check on those criteria that you definitely meet those before you proceed to the next stage. That's just kind of a check. Can you definitely apply for this scheme? If so, brilliant. We'll take you to the main application form. So section 1 of the form is applicant details. So we're asking for a few different details about your organisation. We'll also ask for details of a senior contact that will be legally responsible for the funding, as well as a primary contact who'll be kind of our day-to-day point of contact. And then in section 2, we'll do a bit of an activity overview. So this is your opportunity to tell us about your project. What are the outcomes going to be? How will you deliver it? And then before you submit your response, you will have a chance to review. So once you've filled in all the boxes, you can click review and submit. It will then flag if there's any issues on the form that you just need correcting. It might be that you've put a decimal point in a box that doesn't allow that or something like that. So it will flag and it will tell you what any issues are. Once you've corrected them, you can then review and submit. At that point, if you want to print a copy of your application, that's the time at which to do it. So when you click review and submit, it will bring up a summary of your application. You can print it at that point. You can make a PDF of it and save it. And then really important, that's not your application submitted until you press confirm at the bottom of the page. So on the review response page, you must click the confirm button at the bottom of the page to finalize your response. Otherwise it won't be submitted. And then you'll get an on-screen notification and an email once your application has been received as well. Please do check your spam and junk folder, because quite often they do get diverted into there. So in terms of questions, we did have some submitted beforehand through the response form. So I'll just run through them very quickly. So clarity, someone asked for clarity on the rurality aspect. Hopefully we've covered that off now in terms of population size being 4,000, not a hard and fast rule, but if you can demonstrate why your project is required due to a lack of alternative services in the locality, that would be brilliant. So someone else asked if the program is supportive of young people. Yes, it's absolutely great to have young people involved in projects, and we really want to have their input. So the key thing that we're looking for is that projects benefit the community as a whole. So rather than say one subsection of a community, how are you involving the community as a whole? And obviously young people are a really crucial part of that. So it'd be fantastic if young people are involved in projects. And they're represented within that. It's just a note in terms of if young people themselves are applying, they do need to be part of an organisation that is properly constituted, and one of the eligible organisation types that I mentioned earlier on, which are listed in our guidance. So someone else asked about EV charge points. In theory, this is something that you could apply for funding for. I think the really key thing here would be if you're going to apply for funding for equipment, really demonstrating the additional benefits that are going to come from that and the community need and engagement. So as I mentioned earlier, we're really looking for kind of innovative solutions to the challenges facing rural communities. And this is a really competitive program. So you would really need to demonstrate why we should fund your particular project. What is it about it that sets it apart and makes it innovative? And what are going to be those kind of wider benefits that are going to come about from that? Someone else asked about feasibility and program development and if that's something that we would fund. So again, we can fund things like community plans, or it might be a strategy for the community. In terms of feasibility for a particular project, it's worth bearing in mind that this is quite a short time frame for this. So we've only got 18 months for this program, and we really want to capture some strong outcomes at the end of the 18 months. So I think it's worth asking yourself, actually, what can we achieve in those 18 months from a feasibility? Will we have some kind of clearly defined outcomes at the end of that? And equally, as I mentioned earlier, RCF, the contribution from the funding must be 10% of the overall project cost. So if it's a feasibility study for a programme which is actually going to cost a lot more than it's going to cost, say, £500,000, actually that's something that maybe wouldn't quite fit within this particular programme. So worth just thinking, what outcomes could you achieve in the timescale? What would be the really measurable change for the community? And just thinking about that cost element as well would be really key. Someone else asked about village halls. So I think I touched on that earlier regarding we're not funding village hall renovation projects through this particular scheme, and we would advise you to have a look at the Platinum Jubilee Village Halls Fund for those types of applications. And someone else asked about existing projects. So we can fund existing projects. I think the really key thing there would just be demonstrating what difference this funding would allow you to make longer term, and how it meets those key characteristics and the outcomes that we're really looking to achieve. So it doesn't have to be a brand new project. It can be core costs to support an ongoing project. But it's really about kind of what will you achieve in those 18 months? What difference will this funding make, and what will it allow you to go on and do in the future? So really demonstrating that aspect as well, and the community need and buy-in. So I don't think we've had any further questions on the Q&A box. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. A copy of this webinar will be available on the website afterwards if you want to go back and have another look at any time. So on our website, you can also view our guidance. We do have some frequently asked questions on there as well, if you'd like to have a look at those. And as always, if you're unsure of anything, you can get in contact with us, and the details for that are in the guidance document as well. So thank you very much. I hope you have a lovely evening, and we look forward to hearing from you.